I was watching this little bee here and talking to these flowers, and I was thinking about life and the old argument about humans and civilization and the way that humans are and the way we do things. And I have come to the vague but certain conclusion that nothing that anyone is doing is really wrong as long as one is giving back more than they're taking. And in a way, I mean giving back to nature. To rebalance the planet. To rebalance the natural environment. Because we've taken a lot from it. Really ought to be that everything could be in a nice equilibrium like that. Well, bee there. There he is. He's taking a little pollen and he's going to go make some honey. And he's pollinating all the little flowers as he does it. And he's creating more life. And he's getting what he needs in the process. And it's a process of exponential growth in a way on all sides of that equation. And human beings and civilization in general, there's really nothing wrong with anything that anybody's doing. It's a little bit more the way that it's being done. There needs to be giving back, and there needs to be giving back in a way that we're also creating exponential growth, that we're creating more life for ourselves, but not just for ourselves, for the planet we live on, for the natural environment, for all the little flowers and all the little bees. And there's no reason that we can't do pretty much everything we do and still be able to do that. Be able to create more life and more wealth and health and happiness for all of the forms of life of the earth in the process. And I think it's a good perspective and a good way to look at things and a good way to approach a lot of the things that civilization does and humanity does, and a good way to look at life in general. And it's not, you use a term like giving back, it's not necessarily just giving. It is, but you look at the bee and how it does things, and it's pollinating all the flowers and making more flowers and this and that, and it's just kind of doing what it's doing and doing what it does. And in the process, it just so happens to be creating a lot more life and a lot more good in the way that it's doing it. Now, within the spiritual community, there is talk about service to self and service to others. And there's a lot of emphasis on service to others. And that's a very good thing and a very good place to be. But your service to others, I think, needs to be a natural part of the process of your service to yourself. And as this bee is collecting the pollen it needs to make the honey, it is in the process naturally serving all the flowers and nature itself. And it's really not even trying very hard to do anything to help the flowers. It's just getting the honey for its honey. And it's just a real happy bee about its life. But in the process, it's helping all the flowers. And I think that's where the conversation needs to be with regards to service to self and service to others, is that it needs to be around how do you serve yourself, because you have to serve yourself. You have a soul that is growing and expanding, and you're a part of life, and you want new experiences and to explore and to grow and to live and to do things you want to do. And that process should be a process that naturally is also serving others in the process of doing that. I think when you look at nature, when you look at the way that bees work, or so many other things around nature, they seem to naturally do that. It seems to be an automatic part of the process that they do without even trying. This tree over here is just being a tree. All it's doing is being a tree. All it's doing is being itself. But by being itself and by being a tree, it's cleaning up the air, and it's working with the soil, and it's doing this, is making oxygen, it's doing this, it's doing that. It's probably doing 1,000 things that help the natural environment around it without even trying to do anything. Now, if that tree were to try to be of service to everything else, then it would be doing a terrible job of being a tree, and it might fall down. It's got to just try and be a tree. Likewise, the flowers are just trying to be flowers. And everything's just trying to be what it's just trying to be, and it's just doing its thing, and it's doing a wonderful job of it, and it's all doing a wonderful job of being a part of the system and being a part of nature, and doing a wonderful job of helping everything around. And I think to one degree or another, somehow, some way in our human history, we fell out of that. Now, it's not that we fell out of nature. We're part of the earth. We're on the earth. We're always a part of nature. But it's almost like we forgot. It's almost like we forgot some things. And we do, I think, a pretty good job of, when we look at service to ourselves and service to others, we, I think, do a pretty good job of taking care of ourselves and taking care of others. You know, whether you like a lot of things or not, you know, somebody opens a business, even, you know, businesses that, you know, could be better. They might be serving the community, they might be giving people jobs, they might be making things that people like. And we just have to, I think, look at a little bit more how we are being of service to nature as well, and the natural environment, because that's as much a part of our world as anything else is. As a matter of fact, everything that we got on this planet is, you know, natural part of this planet. Everything that we make and everything that we do, we're using the plants and the minerals and herbs and animals and everything else of this earth to make all the stuff that we do. And oh, look at that little pretty flower over there. That pretty flower. And as we're doing that and going about our business, we gotta realize how we're going about our business in coordination with nature, or at least with a respect for it and an awareness of it. And it's one thing to look at environmentalism from the perspective of not polluting, of not causing damage. But when we look at the tallest buildings in the world and great airplanes flying through the sky and all the things that humanity has done, and all the things that we've created, we've got to realize that we have an incredible power and amazing powers to create anything that we want. And we can create a much happier and healthier planet and a much happier and healthier natural environment for all of us. There's a reason that when you go for a walk outside in nature, it just makes you feel a little bit better, because it's nice to have healthy life around you. And we're at a point in the world today where a lot of people, if you're in a city or in an area that there's not a lot of healthy people around, it can be kind of hard on you. Because one aspect of the human experience is being able to feel the energy around you. We are a feeling being. And when you're in a beautiful place like this one and you feel how wonderful and beautiful all the life is around you, you have a wonderful feeling about it. And at one point or another, I would expect a lot of the cities and bigger places that people lived were like that too, where people had a really good feeling that there was a lot of upbeat, happy living going on in those places. Because they can be so full of life and happiness and love and all of the good things that make the world go round. But we have come to a point in history where so many people today are moving out to the country and moving out of cities because somehow or another everything has gotten to be so tough on so many people. And there's so many hard things and so much sadness in the world, and it's hard to be around. And you go and you find a better place in the world. But that doesn't mean that we're going back to the Stone Ages to live in caves. We've got 8 billion people on the planet. We're going to need homes for people. We're going to need to continue and growing and expanding, and 100 years, 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years, people living on other planets. And the human experience will have spread, and life will be spreading. And how we go about that, who we choose to be, is a choice that's up to us. Our planet has presented us with a shifting climate, with changes in the wind. Our planet has presented us with the clear and obvious truth that we need to approach things with more of a mindset for the life of our planet, the other life around us, from the insects to the flowers to the birds to the animals to the trees, to the very land itself, to the soil, to the very earth we walk on. All of it is alive. All of it is part of life, part of the infinite experience that is existence itself. And the more that we're aware of that and we are able to enhance that and help that grow, the more we ourselves will be able to grow, because there will be more of everything and more opportunity for everything to grow. It's a small example, but if you imagine a world without flowers, well, there probably would have been no medicines, because there's so many medicines that are derived from plants and herbs of the earth. And maybe there never would have been colognes or perfumes, because there wouldn't have been anything that smelled sweet. There'd certainly be no honey. Maybe we wouldn't have art, because there wouldn't be that much color in our world. It's amazing how much of human experience has been influenced and added to just because of the natural environment around. And I know that can be hard to see sometimes, but if you travel around, you will notice that something like art does have a tendency to be influenced by the environment around. And if you go through the Southwest, or you look at some native artwork, you'll see a lot of turquoises, a lot of reds, a lot of colors that kind of reflect the natural landscape. Different areas, different places in time, different bits of culture and bits of life have all had an influence on things. And at some point or another, art started to reflect more human life than it did more natural life. And this can be an okay thing. There's nothing wrong with that. But if humans are only looking to humans to find all of the answers, then we might miss the color of this flower. And if all we were ever looking to was humans for everything that we were looking for, we would have never had the color blue to paint with, or the color white, or the color purple, because humans are either brown or kind of that sort of pale gray thing that white people are, whatever that pale white thing is, sort of a, I don't know, sort of an off-white, like an eggshell, but it's not really white. Anyways, it's all a interesting thing, and it's all a funny thing. And I think the more you sit down and you look at the flowers and you look at the bees and you look at simple things, the more you can realize big truths about bigger things, like there's no answer or philosophy or anything else that's going to make anything that human beings do right or wrong. At some point or another, we were probably much more like the bee, where we did the things that we wanted to do, and those things were helping everything around, everything that we could. And we were very satisfied with our honey. And somehow or another, everything has done some forgetting of that. Somehow or another, we've forgotten how to be ourselves and take care of ourselves. And as a natural byproduct of that, make life, the world, the planet, existence itself a better place to be for everyone. Because we have the power to do that. We can now fly around the world in considerably less than 80 days. We've scaled the great mountains, we've been to the poles, we've explored every inch of this earth. we certainly have the power not just to fix our environment, but to make our planet better than it ever was.